All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to probably my final trade deadline video from the 2025 trade deadline season. And today I wanted to just pretty much put every team's 2025 trade deadline into a tier list. So we did have one trade get rescinded. I haven't really talked about it yet, but it was the Mark Williams Delta Connect deal because of something that came up in Mark Williams' medical, which you could say is a big red flag because one, the Hornets tried trading away Mark Williams in year 3 of his rookie deal when he matches their age timeline with Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, and then he fails the medical. That now this trade just completely gets dropped, which you don't really see too often in the NBA world. So kind of a big deal. I wonder what the relationships are going to be with like Connect in LA and Mark Williams in Charlotte. And I do think too that like for the Lakers, this was a good deal for them if they like the player they envisioned they were getting in Mark Williams. If he could stay healthy, selling high on Delta Connect is a fantastic idea because usually those guys that are 4-year guys coming out of college, they're older in age, they're going to be able to contribute kind of right away. And especially it helps if you're on a good team, you sell high immediately. This is like Chris Duarte, we can call it like the Chris Duarte rule. Like Chris Duarte balls out of Oregon, is like one of the older rookies in the league, but it's like a top 5 rookie in the first half. And then he peaked right there in his career. And it's something you do see more often than you may think. So, yeah, I think maybe the Lakers would have liked to have that one back. Charlotte too, in a way, because I do think Charlotte gets a nice first round pick for somebody that maybe doesn't fit their needs right now. Because I do like Musa Davidi, and then of course he gets hurt in his first game or second game that he was like a full-time starter. But today, yeah, I just want to go through every team here in the NBA. Shout out to Hoop Goat. First time using this on the channel, the pod, and this is on the website. Like he reached out to me. I think people have like used this like content creators too, and it's a little bit more intuitive than just using like tier lists, and I can just kind of like add teams through like a search bar here. And he also has like every single player in the search bar as well, which is really cool. I'll leave a link to this in the YouTube description. So yeah, we could start off with, I don't know, what team do we want to start off? Do I want to start off with an S tier team? I think so. Because I don't know if I'm going to have this exclusive in this tier. Like it's just going to be one team in S tier, but I do think we're going to have, I might try to do like 5-5, like down across the board. But we'll see. So I think, I mean, we can get them out of the way. The Lakers are an S tier team from the deadline. You had Luka Doncic, who makes his debut tonight against the Utah Jazz, which I'm kind of disappointed about. I wish it happened over the weekend on Saturday against the Pacers. Now I gotta stay up till 10:30. Just to at least watch it. Then probably I just like whenever I'm watching a West Coast game that starts this late at around 10:40, I'm falling asleep. But this player I can't wait to watch on the LA Lakers with LeBron. I mean, the Lakers, I think if they made another move, like if it was that Mark Williams move, I could just talk about them a little bit more. But this is the only player they added, as well as Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. But Luka and LeBron are going to be a really fun offensive duo. Now, I do wonder what that center rotation is going to look like without Mark Williams. But the Lakers are an easy S-tier team from the deadline as a whole, just adding Luka Doncic, who is 25 years old. He's going to be 26 in about 17 days. And I think all eyes are on Luka throughout the rest of the year on LA in the playoff run. And we'll see if he signs that extension with the Lakers in the off season. So yeah, something to definitely keep an eye on. So I think the Lakers are an S-tier team. They added the best player at the deadline, and he's just 25 years old. Now trying to figure out like who I want to do next in here. I think a team that could be considered like just a C-tier team. I'm just going to throw my New York Knicks in there. The Knicks didn't make a big move at the deadline. They just recently got blown out by the Boston Celtics at home in the Garden. No OG Anunoby, but the Celtics didn't have Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis, and the Knicks got off to an abysmal start. They made it a close game in the third, and then Boston pretty much ran away throughout the final like 12, 14-ish minutes of that game. And I do think the Knicks, like, it would have been nice if they did add a wing defender, and maybe that's somebody they're able to address in the buyout market. But the Knicks, they didn't really make any notable moves. I think they're a C-tier team. I don't know if this is going to be harsh for a D-tier team. I don't know. Like, it's going to grow on me a little bit, so we'll see. I think D, though, I'm going to put Chicago in D. They're a team that only made one trade. It was the Zach LaVine 3-team trade. It just basically allows them to get their first-round pick now unprotected going forward, comes back to them. There's no top 10 protected or protection going to San Antonio, but they have so many guards on their roster right now, between Dosunmu and White and Giddey and Trey Jones, all these guys here. Javon Carter's there. And then there's one of like Kevin Huerter there, Lonzo Ball, who they extended. They just have so many guards right now. And you just kind of look at like some of their games by night. They just got blown out by the Warriors in Jimmy's debut. But we could look at like the minutes kind of threshold here, where Giddey, Dosunmu, and White are all playing 30 minutes apiece, basically. And, I mean, Trey Jones, 17 minutes. Lonzo was injured for this game, but they did extend Lonzo. I would have liked if Lonzo was traded. I kind of wanted to see Lonzo on a playoff team this year because I do think he could have made a really good impact. But that salary moving it was kind of tough, so maybe there is a Lonzo trade at the offseason or in the trade deadline next year. But it's just, this is one of the grosser looking lineups in the league. And I think not more so like a Wizards gross lineup or a Hornets gross lineup. It's more so like there are a tad bit of excitement and like a tad bit of, I guess, exciting pieces, you could say. But Kobe White and Dosunmu are free agents at the end of the 26 season. Giddey's a restricted free agent. Matas, like, excites me a ton, and he had that perfect scoring night the other night where he was perfect on the field, but I just don't want to see Vucevic. I'm, like, tired of seeing Patrick Williams, Huerter, Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, Dalen Terry. They're all going to have the similar effect for me. All right, so next up here, so we've talked about a bunch of big market teams so far, because I can't, like, look at the logos here. I think we could talk about an F-tier team. I think it's got to be the Dallas Mavericks right now, but the Mavericks are just, like, an F and, like, wait and see. I mean, oh my God, dude. Anthony Davis has such an exciting first game with the Mavericks. And I'm like, oh my God, so many narrative changes are going to happen. But you got the full AD effect. 26, 16, and 7 in 31 minutes. And then suffers a serious abdominal injury where he's going to miss decent amount of time. He may miss the whole month of February. And yep, that's the risk you're going to get in trading for Anthony Davis because he gets these minor injuries. Not minor injuries, but these recurring injuries here and there. And he's missed some time this year due to multiple injuries. I just hope he's not out too long because he looked, one, dope in that Mavericks white jersey, and two, like, brought so much excitement and energy, and he goes, I'm here. And I think for AD, for him personally, I think it's got to be like, I don't know if it's like ego boosting, but you were just like the main piece for Luka Doncic. A team traded a once-in-a-lifetime talent for you. That's how important this team thinks you are, which I think could bring a lot of confidence and a lot of pride of Anthony Davis to Dallas. But it really sucks that he ended up getting hurt. I actually didn't mind the, I can do this. I didn't actually mind the Caleb Martin quitting Grimes deal, but I think that's going to help them out in a little bit in the playoffs. But the thing with Caleb Martin is he's dealing with a hip injury right now. So I don't know what to expect with him going forward. And I do wonder if, like, he's going to be able to make that, like, that impact I think he can make in the playoffs because they got to get there first. But now, not having Anthony Davis, they're the 8 seed. They've won a game and a half lead over Sacramento and Phoenix and Golden State. But who knows the way that they're going to be playing right now because Phoenix has a lot to lose. So they're trying not to lose. Sacramento, they just traded for Zach LaVine and Valanciunas and Jake Oravia. They're going to be at least competitive. And Golden State is trying to make the playoffs. So Dallas, they got a lot of teams behind them. So they got to fix some things out. But I think they're an F tier team from the deadline. The Denver Nuggets, I think they're a D tier. I don't know if I would put them in the C with the Knicks, but I think they're a team that could end up like making a move in the offseason just because when Christian Brown is going to be due for an extension, Strother the following year, and Peyton Watson as well, I guess this offseason in the Brown year, this team has not a lot of movable contracts, and it's just a lot of massive contracts or a lot of small contracts. And I'm sure Russ would want to stay in Denver because he's probably having fun playing basketball again, where his numbers are actually good. And he's made so much money in his career. I don't know if he's really going to go to the highest bidder, if it's a chance where he can go back to Jokic. But it's like Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. All these guys are making a lot of money. I would have liked if Denver didn't operate as like a second apron team or a first apron team. And they could have made like a Cody Martin type move, like somebody like that, at least something. They didn't make a single move. At least the Knicks did something in Jericho Sims for DeLon Wright. The Charlotte Hornets, I think they are, like the Mark Williams trade, I had them up at an A. Now, yeah, I think I'll keep them in an A. Or do I drop them to a B? Because the only other move I believe they made was the Jusuf Nurkic trade, right? So yeah, that trade was rescinded. They made the Jusuf Nurkic, Cody Martin deal, which I love. Them getting a first round pick for that is great. And yeah, like this trade was so weird where they swapped seconds. They traded a 2029 second round pick via the Suns to the OKC Thunder for a conditional second round pick. I don't know what like the reason for that was. But I think just the Yusuf Nurkic trade, I think for a bad team, if you can always take on a bad contract and get a first round pick for doing so, that's going to look good in my eyes. So I'm just going to give them a B, just because they would have been an A. I could have even talked about S tier after the Mark Williams deal, but they're going to be a B tier for me. But a bad team, I'm going to put one spot ahead of them, the Washington Wizards. Not only did they get a first round pick for taking on Marcus Smart's contract, they got a better veteran than I don't know, in Marcus Smart. I think having Marcus Smart on your team is going to be really good for the younger group there. Same with Chris Middleton as well. It looks like that Middleton and Smart are going to make their debuts after the All-Star break. But you got AJ Johnson. You got Chris Middleton. I mean, I don't think he's really going to be much for you, and I'm sure you'd like to just flip him in the offseason. But yeah, getting Marcus Smart in a first-round pick for nothing is great. Just you got to take on Marcus Smart's contract next year. And it's not like they were signing anybody in the offseason. And they get a 2028 swap with AJ Johnson and Chris Middleton in the Kuzma deal. That swap probably won't be much. I still assume Milwaukee will be better than Washington in 28, but I think Washington handled this deadline very well. And I think that's exactly the things they should have did. I just like them changing their veterans, and I don't think Kuzma was great for that locker room and trying to be a veteran for a very young team. And Middleton and Smart are miles better veterans for you guys. And you get a first-round pick and a recent first-round pick in AJ Johnson as well. So another team that I think did bad, I think the Atlanta Hawks did bad. I'm putting them in the F, and I think people realize I am kind of harsh on the Hawks right now just because they don't own their first round pick, and they've been playing very bad as of late, but shout out to them getting 2 wins in a row. They beat Milwaukee and they beat Washington, but I'm a little nervous for them, and I didn't think they needed to trade away DeAndre Hunter right now. And I wonder how Trae Young feels about that and the direction they're going into. And do we get to a point in the offseason? Shout out to Trae just getting named All-Star. But could Trae be like, I don't love the way that this team is headed. I would like to try to win now as I'm in the prime of my career. We're about to be in it. Please let me go to a contender. I'm just saying could it happen? I'm not sure. But I do think that they didn't get a great return for Hunter. And I just didn't think they needed to make that trade. I actually don't mind the Terrence Mann trade. That's growing on me a lot. But I still don't like the DeAndre Hunter trade for Karis LeVert, who could leave in the offseason, and George Niang. You didn't get a Coro, you didn't get Wade, you didn't get Tyson. Maybe you were never getting those type of guys. Detroit, I think I'll put them in a B. They helped orchestrate some deals. They got some seconds. And they got Dennis Schroeder, who should be able to help out Cade Cunningham a little bit as they're trying to be a playoff team this year. I think another B team is a big market team, the Golden State Warriors. Hey, I hope that I hope Jimmy works out in Golden State, because I think it'd be really fun to watch him and Steph and Draymond try to do one last thing and try to go all in this year. And he had 25 points in his Warriors debut, so maybe we're going to get locked in Jimmy, which would be really cool. He doesn't look as, I think, natural as AD in the Mavericks jersey of Jimmy in the Warriors jersey, but I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited to see what this team could do. I hope they make it into at least the play-in tournament, or playoffs would be nice, because I think it'd be exciting to watch at least Jimmy help Steph a little bit. And Steph has been kind of on a tear since the deadline as well. 32, 37, 34 points in his last 3 games. And he was very good against Chicago. I think for the Miami Heat, they're probably a B team as well. I mean, I could honestly bump up Miami to an A, because I think Jimmy wasn't playing for you. He was suspended, and you basically are going from nothing to Andrew Wiggins. That's kind of huge for you. You also get Kyle Anderson. I would have kept Dennis Schroeder, but I think they wanted to save a little bit of money that way. You get Golden State's first round pick this year, which should be between 12 and 16, which is a really good range to find a nice role player for this team going forward. So I like the trade for the Miami Heat. I like the deadline. I like them getting Davion Mitchell, helps them out defensively in the backcourt as well, can complement Tower Hero a little bit. I think with all things considered, with the amount of leverage they lost on the Jimmy Butler deal, they did pretty good. Another team that I think would be ranked pretty low, the Phoenix Suns. I think I'm going to put them at a F. I think I'm actually going to bump up the Hawks to a D, but I'm going to keep the Hawks here at an F with the Dallas Mavericks. It's just they kind of destroyed their locker room chemistry at the deadline. I don't know if this team is going to be able to win a playoff series, let alone make the playoffs, let alone even make the play-in tournament. Their center depth is not going to be great throughout the rest of the year. And yeah, they had to touch a first-round pick to get off of the Yusuf Nurkic trade. So we'll see. They're one of the worst defenses in the league. I don't know if they got that much better defensively. They added Cody Martin. And then they added Vasa Micic at the deadline. It's just not a lot they could do. I hope they can stay healthy. I hope Devin Booker can continue to play like this because he's been a lot of fun to watch as of late. But this team, I think they're teetering to a potential blow up in the offseason. I think another C tier team, I'll just throw in the Knicks, with the Knicks, the Timberwolves. They just couldn't do a lot with their second apron stuff. And apparently they tried to get Kevin Durant. I mean, yeah, sure. Easier said than done. But they didn't look to move maybe a Mike Conley, a Randall, a DiVincenzo, just nothing. They didn't look to make any moves. They're a team that I'm expecting to change a lot in the offseason, given how expensive they are right now. And who knows, what if like Brooklyn or Detroit throws a lot of money at Naz Reid? I don't know if they're going to match it because of how expensive this team is with Ant, Gobert, McDaniels, especially if Randall opts in. They're probably praying for, or really hoping Randall opts out so then they could look to bring back Naz Reid. They're still a great team, so I don't think they needed to make a move at the deadline. Milwaukee, I'm going to give them a C. I originally didn't love the Kuzma deal, but I think them getting under their second apron was nice. I was hoping that they were going to make another corresponding move now that there was a little bit more flexibility after the Kuzma trade, but they didn't end up doing that. I mean, trading away AJ Johnson, I was never a fan of AJ to the Bucks, especially in the first round, because I was like, all right, this guy's a massive project, and they just ended up trading him a few months later. But I thought they were a team that could have really used a contributor right now. But so they do that. I'm fine with the pick swap trade, and we'll see how Kuzma can be. Giannis is going to miss some time, so who knows where they're going to end up falling in the Eastern Conference, or if they can kind of stay where they are right now, which is the 5 seed, having basically a two-game lead over the Detroit Pistons. So I'm gonna throw Milwaukee in C, not like Minnesota and New York C because they ended up making moves, but I just think the move was like okay in the grand scheme of things. I'm gonna throw New Orleans in the C. I just like the return for Ingram was fine. Like, you get a first round pick from Indiana next year, probably gonna be in the late teens, early 20s. You get Bruce Brown, who people were like they could buy out. No, I never really got that idea because Bruce Brown, they probably want to extend in the offseason just to be like this good combo, like guard swingman for them, that could give them good bench minutes going forward. And I don't think should cost them too much money if they're going to be worrying about the luxury tax. Like, Bruce Brown is making what, $23 million this year? Wow, he kind of a blessing that Toronto picked up that team option for him. So yeah, they ended up, he's going to probably make, I think, I don't know, $10 to $12 million next year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 4 for 48, 3 for 36, something like that. Could be Bruce Brown's like last nice contract of his career. And I think it'd be wise for him to take that. They get Kelly Olynyk, a backup center. That's fine. For Ingram, who I think is a lot better of a player than those guys in a different tier. And it's just they traded Ingram, I think, a little bit too late. The Clippers, I'm going to throw them in B. I think they, with all things considered, they did as well as they could have. They don't have a lot of young assets, don't have a lot of pick flexibility, financial flexibility, and they went out and they got Drew Eubanks. They went out and they got Bogdan Bogdanovic. They get off the Terrence Mann long-term money. So I liked what the Clippers did at the deadline. Give them a shout out. Orlando, I'm putting in the D tier. They didn't add a single shooter. They are by far the worst shooting team in the NBA this season. If I end up looking at their field goal percentage, the Cavs are the best three-point shooting team in the league by 39%. The Pistons are average at 35.8%. And then the Magic are 30.4%. 3% lower than the Washington Wizards, who come in at 29. The Magic are the worst shooting team in the league. They didn't add a shooter. I'm not going to put them in F because they don't, like, it's not the end of the world if they don't do much this year in the playoffs or if they don't make the playoffs. But I would just like to watch them shooting from my own eyes, watching Orlando Magic games. The Memphis Grizzlies made some interesting moves. I was like, whoa, is there a bigger deal coming when they traded away Jake Moravia and they traded away Marcus Smart? I guess they wanted to just save money now, but I didn't feel like they had to move Marcus Smart now. Could there have been a trade in the offseason where Smart's expiring could have helped you facilitate it? So I thought it was a little premature and all of that. I'm just going to give them a C because... You know what? I'm going to give them a D because I think it's also like the Marcus Smart contract as well. Like Jake Moravia, who I like, they didn't pick up his team option for next year, so they traded him away. And then Marcus Smart was so bad for you and the contract was so bad, you would attach a first-round pick this year to get off of him. Yeah, I'll throw that as a D. But sure, if it's against, like if it's saving money, sure, you could be an S-tier team at saving money. But I'm not going to reward that. That's like an ownership thing. Cleveland, I think Cleveland's an A-tier team. I think them getting DeAndre Hunter can really perfect this playoff lineup. of Garland and Mitchell in the backcourt, and then Hunter as the connecting piece between them and the front court, because then you have Mobley and Allen there, and I think Hunter could provide them good defense, one of the best bench scorers this year, and he's going to be really fun to watch in Cleveland for, I think, the rest of the year. And what I like about his value to them, he's under contract for the next 2 years after this year as well, so they could try to build up that chemistry and continuity for a long time between Hunter and the guys that have been here for a little bit. Boston, I think they're just like C. Like, it's a similar Knicks C. They traded away Jaden Springer, saved some money against the luxury tax. They didn't really have to do too much. Houston, I'm going to throw in the D tier. I would have liked for them to make another move. They get Jaden Springer just to waive him. I just don't think that this team is going to, it's not going to move me. I think when we get to the playoffs, like, there's a lot of teams I would take in a 7-game playoff series over Houston. OKC, Memphis, Denver. I think the Lakers. I think Minnesota could get interesting. I think Dallas I would take over. So that's at least 5 teams I would take over Houston. Like Orlando, they don't need to make a move right now. But I think Houston's going to have some big answers in the offseason. They're going to have to answer some big questions in the offseason for sure. I'll throw OKC in C. I would have liked if they added a shooter as well. But they do get Chet Holmgren back at the deadline, which is obviously a nice trade deadline acquisition. I'm going to give Brooklyn. I'm going to give Brooklyn a D. I would have liked if they just got something for Cam Johnson. Got something for Cam Thomas or Claxton or Sharp. Or maybe they were just like been like Detroit or Utah and they just got involved in these deals to get a bunch of seconds or anything like that. Like, why didn't they take on Marcus Smart, right? Why didn't they do that? So I would have liked if they made a type of move like that. Could they have gone maybe into the Chris Middleton sweepstakes, and then they could have gone a draft pick in AJ Johnson and taken a flyer on him? I just think the Nets could have operated like that at the deadline, or maybe like Charlotte, and they could have taken on Yusuf Nurkic's contract as well. Not sure why they didn't want to do that. Maybe they didn't want just like another low tier first round pick. Philly, I'm going to throw in C. I like the Grimes or the Caleb Martin Grimes swap. They made some weird moves involving like KJ Martin or Reggie Jackson. I just think I don't know. They just feel like they're going to be a playing tournament team. They're going to get out of it, and everyone's like, oh, watch out to Philly, and then they're going to get smoked by Boston or Cleveland in round number 1. But you know what? Hopefully they can get healthy next year. We'll see what's going on with like Embiid, if he needs another surgery or anything like that. Indiana, they're a D-tier team. They didn't make any notable moves when they could have. And I don't know. Another backup center would have been nice instead of getting like Bismack Biyombo in the buyout market or in free agency. Let's see. Who else do I need to add to this still? I've had a team just in my mind. Utah. Yeah. Utah, I'm going to throw in C. I think it's a little bit better than Brooklyn just because they did get involved in some of those 3-team, multi-team deals, and they were able to get some seconds. I think they waived Jalen Hood-Schifino, which, I don't know, I would have liked if they gave him a shot, but I think they're really liking what Isaiah Collier is doing for them right now. The Toronto Raptors, they made the Brandon Ingram trade. I'll give them a B for that. I'm going to be a little bit less, I don't know, liking of this deal when I find out what that extension is going to be for Brandon Ingram. But either way, I think getting a player Brandon Ingram's caliber for what they gave up was well worth it. I just don't know how this dynamic is going to fit with Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, and they're going to be making around $90 million combined between the two teams. I will give Sacramento an A in this. I think, or not Sacramento, excuse me, San Antonio an A, or no, an S, actually. I'm going to give San Antonio an S in all of this. You get De'Aaron Fox for, I think, 60 cents on the dollar, and then you don't have to trade away Castle or Vassell or any of those young guys, and you kept the Atlanta Hawks first round picks, and I think Atlanta getting worse at this deadline also helps out San Antonio in this grading because they do own Atlanta's first. I'm going to keep Sacramento in B. I like their additions of Laravia and Valanciunas, like on the margin moves, and I think they could have gotten better draft capital for De'Aaron Fox. I think they could have gotten an Atlanta Hawks first round pick because that Hornets pick is nothing. It's 2 seconds. You do get San Antonio's pick in 27. I assume they'll be good then. And you get Minnesota's pick in 2031. But either way, I think they were still positive at the deadline to get a B. Is that it for me? Portland, I'm going to throw them in the D as well. Just not moving Robert Williams. They didn't have to do anything else, but they really couldn't trade away Robert Williams. I guess not. So I was harsh to a lot of these teams here that we do have in D. I have a bunch of D. I have 2 in F. A decent amount in C and B, and then only 4 S and A teams. I'm trying to think if I don't think I have a single team to talk about left, right? I guess that's like the one thing with this tier list is I'm not too sure, unless there's like a count here, and I can see that I've done 30. So yeah, that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this tier list of every team at the deadline. Let me know if you guys did enjoy it or not. I'd appreciate it if you dropped the thumbs up. This is basically only on their deadline moves. Next week, I will be doing a trade deadline, like I guess, or post trade deadline, like tier list ranking. So we can be on the lookout for that, and hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already on YouTube. Let me know in the comments on YouTube what you guys think. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I'd appreciate a rating and review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.